Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the distinguished lecture by Professor Philip Zimbardo, Emeritus Professor of the Department of Psychology of Stanford University.
It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this very special occasion in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, as well as the 30th anniversary of the Psychology Department. Professor Zimbardo is one of the best-known psychologists of our time. David Spiegel, professor of psychiatry at the Stanford University Medical School, called Professor Zimbardo a legendary teacher, saying that, quote, he has changed the way we think about social influences, unquote.
And so I am deeply honored to be the first in what I understand is going to be a series of distinguished lectures. I will be 80 on March 23rd, 2013. So that's, I hope. So I have prepared a special lecture for you. My journey is really from creating evil. I try to understand evil, and I'll tell you why, since I was a little kid. But I went beyond trying to understand it to say, I think I could understand it better if I was the creator of the evil, studying evil from the inside out rather than the way it's usually studied from the outside in. And in the past few years, I've had a life-changing transformation. So now my goal in life is exactly the opposite. It's inspiring heroism, especially in youth. And hopefully, if it works, especially in youth in Hong Kong, which is going to be the portal for bringing our program into Asia. So evil, the notion what makes people go wrong, is really an issue that dramatists, poets, playwrights have wondered about for generations. Psychologists tend not to ask those questions. We tend to ask smaller questions, more precise questions, for which we've labeled them hypotheses, for which we have experimental methods and correlational methods to answer. If you now ask me, why do ordinary people turn evil? Here's a recipe. It's like if you ask me how to make lasagna, how to make a stew. We know from a whole body of research, mostly done in the 60s and 70s. Fortunately, now psychologists are moving in a positive direction rather than a negative one. But before we moved out of town, we could say these things. You create a situation where people practice dehumanization of others, diffusion of responsibility, obedience to authority. You create unjust systems. You have group pressure. You have the power and control motives. Bandura's notion of moral disengagement. People are usually moral, but in some situations, they put morality in neutral. In a moment, I'm going to ask the same question. What is the recipe for ordinary people to do good things, heroic things? The line dividing good and evil cuts through the center of every human heart. That line shifts inside of all of us. It's not an abstract concept. And so I found this wonderful contrast of Hitler and Gandhi, same exact position, big followers, and really the question is, which leader would you follow? Well, the answer is obvious. You would follow Gandhi. But how come millions of people in another country went the other way? Okay? Some people are born with good genes, some people are born with evil genes. Nonsense. We're born with genes that give us potentialities to do anything. And so my new mission in life is trying to inspire ordinary people to do heroic deeds. And the rest of my talk is, how can we do that? So when you ask the question, what makes ordinary people do heroic deeds, we don't have a clue. There's a lot of obvious things. Maybe they have to be more compassion. Maybe they have to have more empathy, altruism. There's almost no research on heroism. So the graduate students out there, here are theses in waiting. So what does it take to be a hero? The problem I have is this whole backlog of hero stuff. We have samurai warriors. We have Agamemnon. We have Achilles. We have Odysseus. These are the classic heroes. We also have your kids have superheroes, fantasy heroes. Everybody who wins a gold medal in the Olympics becomes a hero for the nation. None of those are heroes. They are role models if you do good things. If you saw the Beijing Olympics, you saw Yao Ming, 7-foot center for the Houston Rockets, walking in with a little kid on his shoulder. Everybody said, who's that kid? His name was Lin Hao. The reason he was there is that just before the Olympics, there was a huge earthquake in Sichuan province. And because of shoddy construction, many of the school buildings collapsed. And he was in one of those buildings, the building collapsed, and all the kids were killed except him. And as he's running out, he looks back and sees two of his friends struggling to get out. What does he do? He runs back to save them. People said, why did you do? Why did you risk your life? Why did you do that? And he gives this wonderful answer, which I call being a dutiful hero. He said, I was the hall monitor. It was my job to look after my classmates. How could I not? So now here's what I call putting the heroic imagination into action when you have the opportunity. Many of us have been hall monitors without being a hero because you need the opportunity. But when you have that imagination, when you say, it is my job, it is my obligation, when the opportunity comes, then you will be the one to act. So this is what my whole program is. How do you inspire people to have that heroic imagination? So Superman tells his son, flying around all day just won't cut it. Sooner or later, you're going to have to fight some evil. Meaning, to be a hero, it's not enough to have good intentions. You have to act on them. So the decision to act heroically is a choice that many of us will be called upon to make at some point in time. The question is, will you be ready? Because that point, if it passes by, you will always regret not having done the right thing at that moment. Next are a couple of everyday heroes in Hong Kong. Two students. Gloria Ma, a third-year psychology student with congenital muscular dystrophy, who is wheelchair-bound. She devotes her life to reaching out to others with diseases. She volunteers as a counselor providing services to low-income children. And a compatriot, Jack Lai, he participates in service trips to Shan, a starfish foster home for children with special health needs. Along with others, he helps clean the center, provides relief to the workers by playing and cuddling with the children. So we want to celebrate. Here are those young heroes.